we're going to continue our discussion of how to optimize Muppet models. And so before we talked about how to make models smaller, to trade off a little bit of space to make them fit on smaller machines and often make them run faster. Now we're going to be talking about speculative decoding. This is a little bit different, where we're going to try to make things faster by taking a smaller model to do the easy stuff and leave the hard stuff for a bigger model. This doesn't save space because we're now running multiple models, but we're going to potentially save time by using the model less. This is a little bit like the mixture of expert models that we talked about before, where for any given example, you're going to use one of n models, or for any given token, you're going to use one of n feed-forward networks. But here what we're going to do instead is we're going to use a small model that will sometimes speak for a big model, but it ends up mathematically as if we only use the big model, even though sometimes we cheated by using the little model to peek ahead. And so why this even works is that sometimes it's not so hard to predict the next token. Let's say that we're translating from Hebrew to English, and the translation of this sentence was the president was Barack Obama. Because we're going to generate, in English at least, left to right, you first get the Hebrew input, and then you generate the, and then you try to generate the next word. Generating president is pretty hard. You need to actually understand Hebrew to figure out what this was saying. But once you've generated Barack and you need to generate the next token after that, there are very few presidents named Barack, and so you can probably figure out that the next token is going to be Hussein or most likely Obama. And you don't need a large model to predict Obama given Barack. So maybe we could use a cheaper model in those cases. So the way that this works is that if we were using just one giant model, we'd use it to generate every single token. But with speculative decoding, what we do instead is we now give the same input to a smaller model, it generates some output, and then we ask a larger model, how much do you like this output? And so why do we do this? Because it's easier to verify an output than generate it. And this holds particularly true for longer n-grams. We won't work through this here today, but hopefully you can understand why that would be. If we could generate gamma tokens from this much smaller model and test it out on the larger model, you can do that all at once. That's how transformers work. So the way that this is going to work in a little bit more detail is that we're going to sample x from p of x. Or that's what we want, but we're not going to do the sampling from p of x, our large model, directly. We're going to instead sample it from q of x, where q is our simpler model. And so we now get a sample from q, and we keep it if the probability under q was the probability under p or less. This is just saying that, hey, your dumb model generated something, but your smart model liked it better than the dumb model did. If that's the case, keep it, you're going to be good. But if the dumb model liked it more than the big smart model, then you reject it with probability of 1 minus p of x over q of x. And then you sample again from a new distribution where you take the distribution over all of your x's and you subtract out q's distribution from p's distribution. And so this is actually pretty expensive computation. Here you're computing the full softmax probability for p and q, and then passing it through this function. But if you do it this way, you can actually prove that sampling from this complicated mess of two different distributions is equivalent to sampling from p. The way that we can prove this is by writing out what is the probability that x is going to be equal to x prime, and then breaking this down into two cases where the guess from Q was accepted or the guess was rejected. And then you can take those two parts and then write down what that would be mathematically. And if it's rejected, you're sampling from this P prime distribution with probability 1 minus beta. And as it so happens, if you set beta to be equal to what we talked about before, this ends up being equivalent. For many applications, speculative decoding can almost double your throughput in terms of the number of tokens you can generate. And so this is a good case. The problem is that it can be faster, but you're going to have strictly more calls to language models. But because one of your language models is going to be much cheaper, you could end up saving not just time, but also some compute. That being said, it's not always faster. If you're rejecting a lot of the time, you're going to be computing your full conditional probability distribution for both P and Q, and that's not going to save you time or computation. The issue is, what kind of tokens are you generating? If all of your tokens are super complicated and require the full strength of your giant model, that's not a good application for speculative decoding. But if you're outputting normal English, a lot of the English that we generate isn't all that interesting. You can use a pretty stupid model to do that.
Thanks for watching this video. I picked out another video that you could watch up here. If you want to get more context for the videos, check out this link or the link in the description. It gives you readings, programming assignments, and other things that might be more helpful. Finally, help me out and help other people find this content by providing a big gradient to the recommendation algorithm. Like the video, subscribe, or leave a comment down below with mistakes that I've made, newer research that has come out, or just tell me about where you are in your journey.